Okay, class, how you doing? Let's get started on Harmony and starting up our preferences. I think it's really important to set up our preferences, especially when we don't know exactly or familiar with Harmony at all. So we're going to go to Harmony. We're going to go to Harmony Preferences. I'm on a Mac. It might be located a little bit differently. And it also came to my attention that with this new version of Harmony 17, the keyboard shortcuts and preferences have been separated out for you. Let's start actually with keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts, you can actually have the choice to go with Toon Boom Harmony, Toon Boom Studio, or Adobe Flash. I picked Adobe Flash not only because Adobe Flash was my background, but it's an Adobe world and it's a lot easier. Let's face it, if we know and remember our Photoshop hotkeys or our Flash hotkeys, to apply them into Harmony. Why learn a whole new set of hotkeys when you don't have to? And so that's the major difference and the major change that I do. I know for a lot of coworkers of mine that's blasphemous, but that's what I've chosen and elected to do. Okay, so I said Adobe Flash. That's one thing that I do align myself with Flash with. Now let's go to Harmony preferences. We need to set these preferences because they'll make a world of difference. From the get-go, you might notice a few things that are different than my interface, and so I'm going to make this a little larger so that you can understand. This preference set is called Basic. I'm going to keep it under Basic. And we're just going to go down these tabs, General, Camera, Node View, and so forth. Under the General tab, I want you to do a couple of things for me. I want you to click on this button called Focus on Mouse Enter. Again, it's called Focus on Mouse Enter. See if I can zoom in. I can't zoom in on it like I used to in my other classes. But Focus on Mouse Enter will basically do this. With it checked off, you'll notice that there is a red box that goes around each window that you have, and that's an emphasis window, and you have to click in order to get it. I don't like that. I'd prefer it to do it on rollover. So Focus on Mouse Enter when clicked will create the emphasis on rollover when you roll your mouse, and that's really nice. It makes things a lot easier. Okay. Also, let's see, anything else? Default separate position for pegs. This is correct for rigging, but once you're done rigging, and let's say you're doing camera work, you want to turn this off. So default separate position for pegs. I'm going to put that on. Stop motion keyframes. Yes, I want to create stop motion keyframes. I don't want tweens to automatically be set for me. Okay, that I think is very important. Everything else is pretty standard here, all right? Let's go to camera. And one of the things I like about camera is I have this thing called here, use rotation lever with transformation tools. And what that does is it provides a rotation lever instead of, you know how you always have to roll your cursor over. Let me just make a drawing here and I'll add a peg. Let's just add a peg to it. Oh, the hell you can't hear. Let me just add a quick shape. Let's just add a shape. Okay. So I've added a shape and then I'm just going to peg it and I want to rotate it. That creates this little rotation lever right here on the edge, which I really like instead of having to wait for your cursor to change into a rotation at the corners of any element. It provides this right-handed, and it does favor righties, lever on the side, and I really like that very much. Okay, back to preferences. So use rotation lever with transformation tools. And that's pretty much it on all of these. Okay, and that's it. Yeah, let's go to node view. Node view, I don't really change that much. Everything is good. You can change the type or cable type from Bezier to line. There's a couple of different to straight. I leave the cable type alone. Middle mouse button pans the view. Yes, check that. That's really good. And that was something that Disney and personally in my crew bugged Francisco over at Toon Boom about because this is a nuke feature. Double click on the node, opens the editor, also a nuke feature. And they finally got wise to that after we pressured them enough. And that's the thing I love about Toon Boom is that they listen. There's someone we can talk to. Adobe's this faceless corporation. There's no way you're going to get any results or anything out of them. Okay, exposure sheet, I leave alone. Drawing, pretty much the same. Nothing new there. Timeline, good. I don't have any problems with anything there at all. Templates, fine. Sound, analog sound scrubbing, make sure that that's turned off. OpenGL. You might, if as scenes get heavy, you're gonna maybe like turn some things like tone and highlights off. But for the most part, you're never gonna deal with anything that heavy right now, okay? Render, great, fine. And there's also this new thing called disk caching, which is interesting for shows like Tangled that are super, super heavy. That's a new feature. Too late for right now. Advanced. Let's go right to advanced since we're already so advanced. And it says support the overlay and underlay arts. Please do so. If I don't have that checked, you'll notice that you'll only have line art and color art here on the side, which are the main components of which you draw under. But if I go back into my preferences and I go to the advanced tab, you want to have the overlay and underlay arts. And I don't know why you wouldn't want those. I would more of these. I've always loved them, and I would even argue that you could use more of them. I've heard contrary, like our lead TD2 says no, it's plenty or that's too much, and I'm like, are you kidding me? We could use way more. Advanced display, you'll never need that, and keep it checked off. But one of the things I emphasize, if you caught the first one, is element node animate using animation tools default value. Please make sure that that is checked off. Please make sure that that is checked off, okay? I do not want to see tweens or any animation information on your drawing layers. And you'll see that in some of your director's tutorials where she has tweens and keys set in her drawing layers. And that's a no-no. Mercury doesn't do that. Nobody does that. Some people say it's an old way, but that is something you do not do. You keep the drawing layers and the animation layers separate, meaning pegs. Pegs contain animation information. Drawing columns or drawing layers do not. So you want to make sure that this is checked. And I don't think that that's something that the Academy is aware of. Okay. Everything else, middle mouse button pans a view. Love that. Make sure that that's checked. Also, restore current selection. Restore current selected drawing on undo, meaning if you select a drawing, you can just undo the selection, not an entire function. And you would want advanced palette list checked on, yes, and advanced element mode, yes, checked on, okay? Those are the things, but please make sure that that is checked off. Element mode, animate using animation tools. Deformation and particle we won't deal with, and they're fine on their own. I don't know who monkeys with those, okay? So that's it with the preferences and the preference tutorial. Please set up those preferences, and we'll get on to the next tutorial about the interface. Thanks.